again, as always, I appreciate you guys joining us today. This week for us, we have our annual mental health awareness game. And, I've been one of those guys that have always tried to use the game of football to make a difference in the players' lives that come underneath us. And others doing this each year is really special to me because of obviously my son Miko and my family. So we're excited about being able to bring awareness to mental health with the game this week. Michigan State obviously was proud of the fast start. It was great to see us kind of get back to that standard. The defense came up big with the turnovers. Offensively, we capitalized on them to give us a great lead. Our defense has done a really good job the last couple of games of creating turnovers. And as I've said before, the winning formula is big plays, us creating them, defense minimizing them, taking care of the football on offense, defense creating turnovers, and then obviously having the ability to play great situational football. And I thought we did all three of those things in the Michigan State game. I didn't like how we finished, but that's something that we will continue to work on, up to still a little bit of a quote. I saw Jalen Hurts say this, and as I looked at this week, winning is hard in this league, and for us to get road wins, and I want us to make sure we enjoy and celebrate them, but we also have a standard, and to me that's where the sweet formula of taking care of winning while also playing to our standard, and for me, when I come back off the field, I kind of get disappointed in myself because I feel like we lost the game after we've done a really good job the first three, and it's because of the standard. And I think our players really have embraced that part of it, that it's not just about winning, but it's also playing to a standard. And so what we'd like to do as we get into the Indiana week is be able to play winning football while also doing it to a standard. And I think that's the part when I talk about this team is a little different. I think they share that same sentiment. When you turn the page to Indiana, they're led by a really strong defense. I think their linebacking core is probably one of the better linebacking cores that we've faced thus far. 44 is one of those guys that, he makes a lot of plays for those guys. They've got some transfers over there. Their D coordinator, Chad Wilt, we know a lot about. He was a D-line coach here in one of my earlier stints here. And they're top 5 in the Big Ten in pass defense, interceptions, and then third down stops. And so really do a good job on that side of the ball. On the offensive side, obviously, Walt Bell, they've got a tremendous playmaker at number 12 who they try to find ways to get him touches. The quarterback transfer from Tennessee throws the deep ball as well as we'll see a deep ball. So we've got to do a great job this week of preparing our team for the ball being thrown vertically. If I were to say what our objectives were for our defense this week is to find a way to minimize number 12's impact on the game, number one. Number two, obviously, is to be able to stop the run. And they're very diverse in their offensive systems. They have the ability to spread you out, play with tempo. They even have elements of triple option that they use where number 12 becomes the extra, run guy. So playing really disciplined fundamentally in terms of when they do get you into option football is going to be really important. And then also really important for us to be really sound in those option responsibilities when they do offer that. We played one-score games against them each of the last few years. This has always been a tough game for us. You think about last year's matchup where Talia left the game injured. We were down, and Billy Edwards was able to come in and lead us to victory. Ever since I've been in this league in 2014, I was here when we joined this league. This has always been one of those games that's been a tough game for the Terps, and I expect it to be the same here this week as Tom Allen is one of the better coaches, in my opinion, in this league. It's the Big Ten home opener, so we'll need to be ready to take their best shots. As I've always said, I'm really proud of the way our student section has continued to turn out for these first opportunities here at home. We're hoping to have the ability to have that same type of environment and maybe add to it with some of our alums that are here in the D.C. metro area to come out and support this team as we continue to work to take the next step. It'll be great to be back here at the Shell. Our game captains, Eric Harris, Ruben Hippolyte, and Riyadh Wilmot, and as well as not just our mental health awareness game, but it's also family weekend. So we're excited to have families back here to support Terp football family. With that, I'll open it up to questions.
Good afternoon, Mike.
Dave, what's up?
Not much. The takeaways, you guys had 5 against Michigan State this past Saturday. I think 11 in the last 3 games. The ball hawk Donnell Brown making play after play. Does that get to a point where it feels contagious? And how do you, if you could expand on how you guys have cultivated that takeaway mentality this fall?
Yeah, it's funny because I shared this with the team. I went to church Sunday, and part of the message was about mindset and what's going on in your brain, and how when you think positive things more than you think negative things, you move to and become what you focus on. And turnovers are kind of like that. Once you get a couple, they kind of come in bunches, and we've been a team that has not turned the ball, taken the ball away. The last couple of years, I remember coming in always talking about we got to find ways to get our hands on more balls. And the last couple of weeks, it's like the floodgates have opened, and our guys are hungry for it on that side of the ball. It's definitely been a catalyst in how we've been able to overcome slow starts, and then last week helping with our fast starts. So it's a much needed thing for us on the defensive side. I'm hoping it is contagious because you look and see to have the amount we've had the last 2 weeks. We'd love to continue that trend because, again, big plays, turnovers, and then being able to run and stop the run are critical in terms of being able to win ball games.
Hey, Michael, how much of a believer are you in momentum? Because it feels like you have a lot of it with 31 points in the first 4 games ever, and then winning by 18 at least for the first time in more than 100 years.
Yeah, momentum is critical. It's real. And it has the ability to affect you in both ways, winning and losing. And so I don't mind the ride of the momentum wave we have going. Like I told our team, it's going to be really important to understand that momentum doesn't just happen. It's created by what you do. Every week we've got to pay a price to go out and play successfully on Saturday. And I think our players have really, that part of our culture and that part of our standard, they've really embraced the work that has to be done to be able to have the success we have. And momentum's a big part of it. And, we need to continue to do the things that we've done to capture it.
Hey, Coach.
What's up, Varun?
You talk about the standard. Which games this year do you feel like your team has hit the standard in?
What games have we?
Yes.
We haven't played the perfect game. The perfect game is winning and meeting our standard, and we haven't had any of those yet.
And for you, when you're walking off the field, you kind of talked about it a little bit. What's that feeling like when you guys have won but you don't hit the standard? What's that emotion like for you?
Unfortunately for me, I tend to dwell on what we didn't do. And that's not necessarily, I think, best for our team. And that's where I struggle because my job is to continue to push. But there's a fine line between pushing and then also celebrating the victories that we have right at that moment. And that's in perfect where I'd like to get rid of press conferences after. I'd like to get the camera out of the locker room because it takes away from, when I look at it, I feel like crap because here we just won and all I'm talking about is we didn't meet the standard. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. And you know what? This generation of players, I don't know if they're motivated that way. And so I've got to check myself. And we always talk about accountability is, goes both ways. And for me, I'm not going to stop pushing the team. You best believe that. But I will not, focus on the negative pieces because you guys do enough of that for me by asking me why we didn't start fast. And I'm like, well, shoot, can't start fast every game. But I need to check myself at times, especially right after a game where we won. Our players, we overcame adversity in 2 games prior to this one. We played fast and met the standard that you guys and our fans would like, but then we didn't finish, and I'm focusing on that. So, I'm going to focus on continuing to push that we want to win, but we also have a standard that we play to, and I'll keep pushing that we play to the standard.
Hey, Coach. I guess kind of a little similar to that, but I guess just kind of with being able to open the season, 3 games at home, and then opening conference play on the road. I guess you talked a lot about off-season, how what you saw in the locker room, and just kind of the player-driven culture is kind of what validated a lot of the preseason expectations inside the program. But I guess just kind of through that first road game, do you feel like you maybe saw anything or anything kind of clicked to maybe validate that?
You know what I think the best part was, and Brian Griffin, who's our chief of staff, said something to me. I look at halftime of the locker room. So we go in as a coaching staff before we go make adjustments. We meet as a staff for me to kind of give our staff I'm coaching the staff. Here's where we are. This is what we need to do. Well, by the time our coaches get in that locker room, some of the leaders and culture drivers of our team have already started the process of making the necessary adjustments. I mean, you hear players coaching players. And to me, those are the things when I always say there's little signs that maybe you guys don't understand, but those are the signs of things that when I declared that we're ready to compete, this is why. And so I'm really proud of that part of our team. And, we have some culture drivers in our program that it's almost like having coaches on the field and coaches in the locker room. And so by the time we come out to start our transition to making adjustments, it was good to hear that our team has embraced that philosophy of, hey, self-correction peer-to-peer, sometimes even more effective than coach to player.
Coach Carl McManus, Capital News Service.
Carl, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Great.
Maryland's offense leads the Big Ten in total yards, and the defense is second in the nation, tied for second in the nation in takeaways. Is it too early to take stock in that, or does that kind of support your statement about the team being ready to compete?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I hate being in the middle of answering it, but, I do think that, part of where we are is a reflection of what we call the formula for winning, and big plays and takeaways are huge. And so when you're leading in total offense, obviously we're creating and manufacturing big plays. And then when you are one of the top teams and taking it away, those are two of the three elements we need to win. And so I'd say they both kind of go hand in hand. And again, it's really early. We got a lot of football. I think we're a third of the way through our guaranteed games, and it's a little too early to say, hey, that's who we are, but we'll embrace it and continue to strive to continue to do those things.
Hey, Locks, how you
Alex,
doing?
what's up, bro?
Not too much. Obviously, if you guys win this week, 5-0 for the first time since 2001 for this program. I know you were here then. Looking at that team then, this team now, do you draw any similarities between the mindset, the culture, just the way they're playing it all? Anything you can draw a parallel between those two?
I'd say the brotherhood of it. Anybody that was around, and I see Steve Suter back there that was part of that 01 team. That 01 team's brotherhood was forged through some tough times. I mean, started out in 97 and some guys that were really close to winning. We had a couple 5 and 6 seasons before, Coach Friedgen came in and he brought a standard with him that we needed to have the win. And so that brotherhood that's forged through going through some tough times together, I see those similarities. I mean, that team was a fun team to coach. And I'm going to tell you right now, I enjoy coaching this team that we have, or this version of our football family, because of them embracing the culture of winning and what it takes to win. Not the end result of winning, but the process. I mean, we had a Monday practice yesterday. We practiced in the rain. And I can tell you that a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, there'd be a lot of bitching and moaning about, why can't we go in the indoor? We got an indoor. And Well, it was none of that. I looked around and they were just doing the work in the rain and they embracing it. And so, again, this team is fun to coach, much like that 01 team was fun to see them reap the rewards of the tough times they went through.
And then just a quick follow-up in terms of, obviously having Indiana as the focus this week. How do you make sure that the focus is on Indiana and not we could be 5-0 going into this game?
I mean, that's easy. That's part of our standard. Faceless, nameless opponents, they're the next one on there. That's all we really worry about.
Okay. I guess were talking.
What's up? How are you?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
All right.
You were talking about the standard, and I guess not meeting at the end of Michigan State. So I mean, it's kind of two-parter, but you don't have to answer both. But
I'll answer both for you.
Oh, okay.
Make you
like,
relax a little bit.
What?
Help you relax a little bit. I'll answer both. You're good.
Okay. What did you not close out, or how did you guys not close out the game strong during Michigan State? And for your ideal version of perfect game, what does closing out the game strong look like?
Yeah. So the first one is what things were I disappointed about in terms of the finishing strong. Well, the last 2 weeks we haven't started out. We got down 14 and we found ways to overcome those deficits, and we finished winning the fourth quarter. We finished scoring touchdowns in the red area. We executed the last 3 quarters about as well as you can execute them. This time we started out fast, and we had 3 red zone trips on offense where we didn't score points. You threw an interception in the red area. You missed a couple field goals. And so to me, that's what I'm talking about, the finishing and making sure that, when we have opportunities, especially in a situational game of football, that we close it out. And I didn't think we finished strong. We got out to a fast lead, and I didn't see anybody complacent on the sideline, but I just didn't feel as though there was that sense of urgency every time we went out, where when you're down 14, you're running out of time, it kind of creates that sense of urgency. So mature teams, and this team is one that I really feel is a mature team, they embrace that, we don't look at the scoreboard. We should play. Whether we're down or up, we play to the standard and not to the scoreboard, and that's the part that was disappointing. What played a role in it? You know what? It's hard for me to say when I watch it on tape. As I said after the game, and I confirmed it when I got done watching the tape, is that there were just so many instances where we were a block away, or we were maybe 1 yard too deep, or we didn't see something structurally that would have allowed us to execute better. Guys out of their gaps when they should be in their gap. Like, those types of things were the things that really jumped out to me. I think to the touchdown that Ox scored on 4th and 1. Well, we had the same play called where we threw it to Caden Prather and we just missed the block on a perimeter. It would have been the same exact outcome. And so we were just a little off in terms of the attention to the detail of how to do things technically. And to me, those are things that are correctable, and we'll work to get them corrected this week.
Like, defense has only given up 12 points a game, but has also allowed 330 yards per
See,
game.
being negative, man. There we go.
Well, I think
No,
it's
I'm
something
just
good
kidding.
at first.
Yeah.
I mean, the bend and but don't break nature of the defense, is that something you're comfortable with?
No,
Is it
I'm not.
concerning?
I don't want to give up no yards, and that's why when I leave the field and y'all put these microphones in front of me before I can even digest it, it's like every first down seemed like it was 5 or 6 yards. It was from the 20 to the 20. The ball I just never felt like we were stopping them. But then I look up and they score 9 points, and the ultimate goal is to hold them out of the end zone. But the standard is to stop the run. And play good third down defense, and we didn't accomplish those things to the standard that we want to have them accomplish that, and the goals we set for games. And so that to me is where it's just frustrating, because as I walk off the field, I don't think about the 9 points we gave up. I think of, man, we couldn't stop the run. We didn't get off the field off a third down, because I know I'm going to get these questions, and it just puts me in that frame. And I'm going to be positive. I'm not going to let y'all get me down this rabbit hole of being a negative coach. And I feel like I'm starting down there. So we're doing a really good job on defense of keeping people out of the end zone. Are there things we need to be better at? No doubt about it. And our defensive staff will work hard to get it done.
Coach.
What's up, Taylor?
What's going on?
What's going on with you, man?
Not much. In the
How's the
preseason,
family? Everything good?
Yeah.
All right.
In the preseason, you mentioned you were going to move Tariq Still from the slot to the outside, and then you were looking for someone to step up in that slot. Just what have you seen from Glendon Miller in that role so far this year, and what's he meant to this defense?
I am so proud of Glenn Miller, because I'm going to tell you, man, Glenn has been a pain in my butt for 3 years in terms of, he loves football, but it's just all the other things in life. And you know what? He's matured. And this program, he is a poster child for what I hope this program can become for players, because, you know what? He's a great kid. He's smart. He's tough. We had to work on the reliable part, because sometimes he didn't always do or where he was supposed to be. And I'm going to just tell you right now, he's one of our leaders. He's a guy that, even though he's not on my leadership group, when I think of Glenn Miller, I think of tough, hard-nosed, throwback type of Turk football players. And to see the success he's having, I'm not surprised, because every time he's played, when he's been given the opportunity or when he's earned the opportunity, he makes plays. Now, does he do some crazy things, like when the field goal is blocked and you're supposed to get away from it, and does he run toward the ball a little bit? That's Glenn, and we're working on removing those type of decisions from out of his thing. But nobody has grown more in this program than Glenn Miller has, and really happy for him, because he's a great football player. He's a guy that has stepped in big and can play corner, can play nickel, can play safety, loves the game, man. Like, if he could just play football every day and not go to class and party and do all the things that they like to do in college, I mean, he's a throwback football player. I did all this because I saw Glenn back there, and I'm motivating him. I saw him walk in.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
What's up?
So what are your thoughts on Jack Howes so far this season? How have you seen him progress as a kicker?
Jack is Jack is on par, what I think, of what Chad Ryland can be. I know that a lot of people are down on the ones he's missed, but, going into the week, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. And I was torn between whether to kick him, not kick him. He came to me and said, "Coach, I'm good." He said, "It may not look pretty, but I'll do it." And he's worked through kind of the issues he's had. We made a 48-yarder, and I thought, okay, he's back. But then I think because of the distance of it is why you didn't see him think much about, dealing with some of the lower leg extremity stuff he's dealt with last week. And so I think on some of the shorter kicks, maybe he didn't come through because he bangs the ball. When his foot makes contact, he's got a big leg. And I think in an effort to kind of compensate for what he's been dealing with his lower body stuff, it got into his head a little bit. Well, I think he'll be healthy this week. We kind of shut him down early to let things kind of calm down. But I think he's a really good kicker for us. And what you saw last week isn't who he was, but the reason it was dealing with a little bit of an injury.
And you mentioned Chad, attempting 6 field goals more than 50 yards last year. Do you feel you're going to get to that level of comfortability with Jack?
I'm already there with him. I kicked a 48-yarder knowing that he wasn't 100% going into it, and he answered the call. Yep. Thanks, guys.